Hello, my lovely friends. Today I'm going to be making a video. I don't really discuss too much poker strategy, maybe in a couple of years when I understand it, but I do understand ideas about mental game, ideas about how the human brain works, the consciousness, some of our conditionings, and the human condition, and the ways that that relates to poker, and a lot of the things that are in the unconscious running the entire machine. These are some of the ideas that I like to speak about. So I don't have anything in particular to talk about, as well as I'm actually currently playing two tables. So we'll see if anything arises. There are a couple of thoughts that I noticed playing a couple of hands. There are, first of all, when we get into a hand, it's very important to be able to differentiate listening to someone on a video, this moment. We may be doing other tasks, right? We may be involved in other tasks. But this moment, say I'm playing Queen 10 on this board. My brain at this flop will generate a collection of ideas, and there will be feelings, negative, positive, for one thing or another, okay? For different options. Now, in the very, very separated state of consciousness, in fact, actually, maybe even not so separated, even before that, which is even more unconscious, one would just listen to their own thoughts and then believe them and then do whatever their thoughts say. But they're not necessarily looking at the mechanism which is creating the thoughts, which is, of course, the totality of these beliefs. Now, there's a sort of illusion or a human dream that we have control over our own thoughts. I mean, that's very... that would be an absurd statement to make if one has actually lived their life at all and really thought about themselves. If they have any bit of awareness, it would be very easy to logically conclude that, oh, that's right. This voice in my head has nothing to do with me. I'm simply observing the voice in my head. Now, I may take some actions to gain more knowledge, and then there may be a collection of more memories inside this computer that I'm using, this brain that I'm using, right? But in no means do I have any control over the voice. And as long as there's that idea, this is just one thing to be unseen. So the voice, nothing to do with us. Okay, it's basically just a computer. Now then you get a little bit of a deeper level of intuition. And it's not to say that the thoughts are correct or not correct. It's just that there is a level of understanding. What is shooting out with our thoughts is essentially something that's compartmentalized from this array of poker knowledge that we have. And this poker knowledge comes from, it's very, very, very deep. Even if we're new to poker, even if we've not played for a particularly long time, we're using the human brain. And the human brain is the most vast, incredible instrument. Now, of course, I would say that the majority of people, very unfortunately, do not use their brains in the way that, say, a cat would use their brain. Cats are very intelligent creatures. So, for instance, my cat, he walks around and he smells a lot. So he has, I believe that he has 5 sense perceptions. He may have other senses that I'm not aware of, but I am a monkey and these are the things that I use. So I make the assumption, I model my cat based on me. Of course, I don't know how my cat views reality, but I assume that part of the way that he accesses reality is through these 5 sense perceptions. With these 5 sense perceptions, the majority of his behavior, from what I can tell, is walking around, smelling things, licking things, licking himself, touching things, listening to birds, etc. So he's very much occupied with his 5 sense perceptions. The human mind creates a sort of hallucination, which is called the past to the future. I would imagine that a lot of poker players that have, or people that are self-aware would have realized that, okay, the past is not real. Obviously, just look in front of me. If I cannot see the past, then I'm simply confusing the contents of my unconscious with reality. Now, this is very, very hard to differentiate these two things in the separated state. Very unfortunately, because of the fact that there's no mechanism which tells us to differentiate between these two things. The only mechanism is an idea in our mind that says, yes, this is different from that. Okay, so we believe in our own thoughts. So we say, yes, I believe that this is the case. For instance, there are a lot of people who, if they go into their backyard, they will see trees, they will see birds, they will see grass. If they're like me, they might see a Coca-Cola bottle, or a Coke Zero, I should say. I don't know if you guys have any opinions on Coke versus Coke Zero. I'd love your opinion, because I am very concerned about people thinking that I'm fat. Then I feel like they will not love me, they will not like me, they will judge me. Of course, this is because in my unconscious, I have been trained to teach or to judge people who are overweight. And of course, this means that it's not independent of myself. I will still have this self-judgment. And I believe that by using Coke Zero, it advances my self-image and my idea that, yes, you see, I am being less fat. So when I start to even have the idea that I'm going to drink a normal Coca-Cola, there's a certain amount of emotional pain that comes up. Notice that this Coca-Cola is not killing me. It's not shooting me. It's not stabbing me. So what is actually going on with this emotional pain when I think about drinking Coca-Cola compared to Coke Zero? There's more emotional pain around Coca-Cola than Coke Zero. And in fact, these ideas only exist in opposition to another thing. So there's something, say Coca-Cola, and then there's something else, Coke Zero. And this is the comparison. And this comparison is brought up because I might say then water. And say if I'm going to have emotions based on feelings, and say the idea, the metric that I'm currently claiming is the one that I'm using to differentiate whether it's good or not is how it would interact with my body. And of course, I don't want to say this as well, but yes, I'm also interested in how it will interact with my body in the way that I will be perceived by others, whether it will make me gain weight, make me lose weight, etc. Not something like longevity, not something like how it actually, it's not like I want to be pouring the wrong gasoline in this machine, right? But I don't really care about those things because I don't actually have the capacity for the most part. I mean, I can logically tell you that, but the thing is, even I once in a while, I smoke something like marijuana, and that is absolutely detrimental to my lungs, absolutely horrible. But if you ask me questions about health, I will tell you something like, Pizza Hut is not good. Because I want to think about people who are eating fast food and make my identity superior to other people. So I'm going to look around. Of course, I'm not going to say this, but the implication is there at some level. It's not actually there for someone else to access, but I can see it within myself. So I'll give you that information. So there's a sort of thought process of, am I inferior or am I superior? Now, this idea of superiority, inferiority, think about this, right? So we are a Homo sapien, we are a monkey, we are walking around other monkeys, we will eventually die, we will be in the ground, we are just dust, right? And what did we come from? We came from just dust, we came from just ash. And we can say that what we are is not actually atomically bound, so we could say that our identity is not just in matter, because all of what matter is, the meaning of that is derived from the experiencing machine that we are using. Now, if we've yet to unsee that and we believe in the physical reality because we're still dreaming of it, absolutely fine. It doesn't mean that the physical reality doesn't exist. Certainly it does. It just means that the meanings that we put on top of them are not actually what they are. But of course, we have this preconceived idea that it is. I do, of course. I certainly do. I see cat, and I have very good feelings. I feel like I'm not going to be judged by this Jello boy, this beautiful mini cat. My cat's name is Minnie, and I call him a Jello boy. I think it has to do with his bellow is very, not his bellow, excuse me, his belly is very jello-y. I like to rub it. And then I imagine how this will give me some sort of pleasure. I don't know how, but he has many spots on his belly. He looks like a lion. So I believe that because I'm comparing this cat to my mental model of the world and thinking about how, well, wow, lions are really cool. Leopards are really cool. I can't believe that God made them like that. Okay, by the way, I don't believe in God, but I still have these thoughts in my unconscious because, of course, I've been conditioned in this society. So even if I say, I don't believe in God, in the unconscious, there will still be a lot of thoughts about God. Now, of course, I will deny these and say, no, it's someone else. But no. My thoughts are not consistent with my identity. In fact, they have nothing to do with that. In fact, all thoughts are basically created based on the context that we are currently occupying. So if I'm going around, yesterday, for instance, I went to a Buddhist temple to ask them some questions. I was looking for a very deeply realized teacher because I don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm speaking to someone who has not been drinking very much. They are not eating very much. They have been hospitalized because of dehydration, various things. And I'm trying to get some information, and I'm very ignorant. I don't know what the actual situation is, how to help them. And I wanted to see if there was someone who has realized. Of course, they started like lighting candles and saying prayers, and they have not made the connection that lighting candles has nothing to do with hydrating a body. But because there is a sort of belief that lighting candles, so this is real, right? This is not a joke. And if poker players have these beliefs, we need to be very, very, very willing to look at them. The problem is that the ego structure creates beliefs before we find the truth. See, all beliefs are completely unfounded. They're not true. Like I can say, I believe that the moon is going to come out tomorrow, but it doesn't mean anything. If I'm seeing it or I'm not seeing it, what does it mean? So say in the context of we're looking at a textbook and we're talking about science and we're studying the stars, blah, blah, blah. Okay, sure. It has some sort of relevance. And in fact, we can say that it's an observable fact. We're going to see it tomorrow evening when it comes out. If it's full, then we're going to dream that somehow this is going to change something. And one of the arguments is that we are about 70% water. And because of the fact that we are 70% water, now what is changed? What is changed on the planet as the moon revolves around the Earth in different positions? Okay, so the water levels are constantly changing, and this is a function of gravity. I don't even know what the word gravity means. I haven't studied it. I don't know anything about this. But I'm like a parrot, like a bird, that is able to regurgitate knowledge because I want to be able to be somewhat entertaining. And I'd actually like to be able to hit upon the points that I do understand. But let's talk about this sort of this belief system. Okay, so the belief is that because my body is 70% water, that there are going to be scriptures or ideas out there that are going to help me maneuver in the world that tell me basically I've been born at this time, I've been born at this day. Then I can get this preconceived idea of how I'm supposed to go. First of all, no past should rule the future. Now, there's this idea, we are born and then we're very afraid to die. Everybody is absolutely terrified to die. Unless they've died already. I mean, their ego has died, not their body. Okay, but their psychology, their identification with this character, this very limited character that we identify with. And we often unconsciously forget that we're doing it because there's so much role-playing that's required within the society. It's quite a challenge, but then we often forget that we are wearing these kind of masks. I absolutely do. My point yesterday when I was going to the monks is that they were telling me about these candles, and instead of me saying, no, this is not true, I bowed, I said, thank you so much. I played with their dog. I chased after him. I barked like a maniac. It was really fun. He was a very nice dog, but they told me that he doesn't like foreign people, or he doesn't like they told me that the dog doesn't like my race. I don't know if that was a projection of them or if it was true, but he certainly was having a lot of fun with me. I was like chasing after him on all fours, and I was trying to sniff his ass, and the dog was like waving his tail and running around. It was incredibly fun. But I did not challenge their belief about the candle. So I tried to go and find, will someone be able to give me information about what to do in this situation? How likely is it that this person who's meditating very deeply will end up waking up and drinking water, or should I just send them to the hospital and get them hydrated? Now I send them to the hospital, and we'll see what happens with that situation. But we must speak to people based on their perception. It's much easier to maneuver in the society like that. Now, you may have someone that says, you're inconsistent if you do that. No, this is just your ego. You don't know anything about yourself. You don't know how to maneuver with people. Of course, you need to speak people's language. You can't go up to a Chinese and speak Japanese. You cannot go up to an American and speak Spanish. It doesn't work that way. You see, you cannot go up to a bird and speak English. And a bear cannot go up to you and roar and you understand. Now, you may believe that this is a threat, but only because this is the most utilitarian assumption that you have to be able to protect your body. Anything is a threat around the bear, right? But we don't actually know what he's saying. Now, this sense of self that we are so afraid to let go of actually is completely driving the poker machine. The sense of self is an illusion. We are not actually separate from existence. Obviously, if you want to just go ask a physicist, and you ask him, wow, each moment, this big ball of floating rock that's in the universe is spinning around and moving into a completely different field of atoms every single second. So this body, what we are, is obviously not atomically bound, right? Our body regenerates every couple of years with completely different cells, completely different body, all the time. So certainly this hallucination that our mind might give us, this imagination that we even know what an atom is. No, we cannot know what an atom is. I should have called that Faust, but I'm not paying attention because I'm having too much fun. Speaking. But no, we don't know what an atom is, right? So we see that the way that matter interacts, and then we create a model, and then we give it a collection of words that we can all agree upon. And then, say, a scientist will have a much deeper understanding of what certain things mean than, say, an ordinary, ignorant human being like myself that doesn't know anything about those terms. But when the word comes up, I will assume I know. And it's an unconscious assumption. I might tell other people, no, of course I don't know. I might even tell myself, no, of course I don't know. But the thing is that my brain has already generated a model, which is essentially pictorial thought with some concepts, with some ideas. Of course, we cannot like grab these ideas in the air and like take them out of space and then give it to someone else. We have to use this vessel with language. But I don't have the capacity to know what these kind of atoms are based on physics. But it should be very, very, very clear that if we identify as the body, that would be quite an interesting decision to do. Because how do you, if you are identified with this body, not necessarily the body, but the things that are going on, we are simply the observer of everything that's happening. And I will not say that we are the observed observing the observer. Yes, sure, you are the totality of existence, absolutely. There's no separation. But in the sense that all of our experience, everything that we know about everybody else, everything that we think everybody else thinks, like our opponents in poker, we don't. Unless they've actually told it to us, and then even if they have told us, XYZ, X is still something that we have learned through, say, we're 20 years old, or say we're 40 years old. This word X, this meaning has changed. From when we're 3 years old, we hear the word X, it means one thing. When we're 7 in school, we learn that X means another thing. When we're 15, we know that X means another thing. And we don't have the capacity to imagine that someone else has a different perception than us. Of course, we always do think that, but the problem is that we are always creating the other. No one else exists, right? So our brain creates all other poker opponents. There are no other opponents that we could ever access. Yes, there's probably a flesh and blood biological machine that is clicking buttons with their hand, and then you are probably playing against them somewhere. Yes, I don't disagree with that, but it's not like we can see that. So what we can see are cards. So very often there are a lot of, like, for instance, there are low stakes poker players that, or mid stakes or whoever, will look at high stakes poker player hands. This is me. I'm giving an example, and I will look at these hands, and I will very often think, why did he do this? Why did he do that? First of all, you can never look at a hand in isolation. It doesn't have any meaning. Why would I even do that? Maybe to get better, sure. But then if the goal is to get for entertainment, absolutely beautiful. But for me to be so foolish and actually look at someone like Linus Love and think that my operating system has the capacity to understand why he's making decisions. First of all, as far as physics is concerned, there's no possibility of me ever understanding anything other than myself. Absolutely not. The world is just a projection of the mind. It's just a dream. Of course, it doesn't appear that way, but no other dream appears that way. When we are sleeping at night and we see the entire world that's created, all of our friends that we're talking to, these people are mad at us, even though they haven't said fuck you, but they just give us a certain look, and then we automatically know, but our brain has generated that character. Now, there are some people that are absolutely astonishingly lying to themselves. They must be, because they think that somehow this dream world is not generated by their brain, and they are actually this character in the dream world. They don't realize that this character is not them. All there is simply experience. And there's just whatever's in the dream, but all these emotions, all these pains. First of all, there's this idea that I'm playing a hand, I win, and then I will have a good emotion. Or I'm playing a hand, I lose, well, I have a bad emotion, but then I will think more thoughts about how it was correct in order to alleviate this emotion. No. All emotions that can go good or bad, good or bad, good or bad, these are all conditioned patterns, these are all trained. A dog does not go into like constant like mood shifts because his perception, I don't know, I guess like $100 goes across the table differently. Like, why would anything even matter? So the reason why we may have some sort of reaction in game, why we're mad, is because we have the belief that it matters. Say we lose $200, and we say, well, in poker, of course, we don't care, or nobody cares about $200. What's the point of caring? Blah blah blah. Interesting spot. I want to 3-bet this. Well, I think I'm gonna. Okay. So yes, I'm betting $200 and I'm scared of losing, and then it creates all this pain. Why does it create pain? Because there are thoughts about the future rent that I need to pay, right? So I have this belief that this one situation and what I'm doing is separate from all the other things that I'm doing. No. The ordinary consciousness is as if we are looking at a train track. This is an example that someone gave me, which I think was absolutely fantastic. I haven't really understood this yet, but I'm starting to get the idea that we are a train. No, say that we're looking at a train track. And currently we are identified with, say, one of the carts, say the caboose or whatever. I don't even know what a caboose is. I just know that word has something to do with trains. I don't know if that's the front, the back. I know locomotive is a different word that has to do with trains. That word might even mean train. I don't know. But anyways, right, you get my point. Okay. So we're talking about this train, and we think, yes, we are absolutely this train. But when we start to go deeper into ourselves and realize what these emotions are, which is the same thing as like pain, it's the same thing as taste, it's the same thing as smell. There's basically some, except that like, of course, like emotions are actually like hallucinations in the sense that there's like no cause that we can directly see. It's just a reminder system based on our own thoughts. Some people may be so identified with their thoughts that they believe that their thoughts are reality. For instance, there are people that might believe that certain things are going to happen more often than they would statistically speaking. Like, I'm scared that if I go for a walk in the park at night, someone is going to come and murder me. Well, we can just go and look at the statistics and see how likely that is to happen. We can also look at what kind of people end up getting murdered. We can also look at what time it is. We can say what type of people are doing that. What is it? There's so many different variables, but the brain always imagines worst case scenario because the brain has been trained to avoid situations which can create painful emotions. The problem is that the majority of these situations never happen. And even if they did happen, the pain is actually psychological compared to, say, like the physical experience of like getting like punched or something, or like whacked and having our purse stolen, something like that. I mean, I'm not trying to take away from those things. Those things are absolutely horrible, and I wish that nothing happens to anybody physically. But what I'm trying to say is that the pain that's being experienced is coming from psychological resistance around beliefs. And the psychological resistance around belief that having more resistance towards something, which is essentially strengthening this sense of self. Yes, I believe this. I want to do this. These people that check raise the turn, they're doing something wrong. There's this belief that somehow something will happen because we are feeling a very negative emotion. There's actually an illusion in the brain that thinks that if I'm angry at someone, somehow, I don't really know, like it's going to get better, or this is their fault. For instance, there's like blame, but no, of course, there's just our own emotions that are happening. So this entire fault mechanism, which is trained through the education by cause and effect, we have to very deeply look at this. And actually, we're very shamed from the time that we're born, and especially through the education system after 5. We're taught in very subliminal ways, directly, in all types of ways, what is considered appropriate and what is considered inappropriate behavior in terms of the speech that we can use. And actually, animals don't need this. No animals need this. We don't need this. Any child is perfectly intelligent. So there's no reason to train an animal how to eat food. That's why they have a brain. If they didn't have this natural intelligence, obviously they would not have evolved. That should be fairly obvious. If you think about where life on planet Earth, I don't know about other planets, I don't know about other life, but we can use Earth as an example because everything else would basically be our imagination. Unless some people have some great access to aliens, which I don't know about. I'm not denying that that's the case, but I don't think about things that are not particularly irrelevant. I might say it as well for shock value because it's fun to people when I think that, they're whatever. I might just say some crazy shit because I want to see reaction and it would be cool. But no, I mean, what is going on, right? What are human beings really? Why are we here? What is going on? It's not a philosophical idea. First of all, there may be pain. Oh, why am I living? I'm just going to seek pleasure. So the brain basically has like a pleasure-seeking mechanism and a mechanism which wants to avoid pain. But where is this coming from? There's this idea that I'm very scared to let go of all this stuff when I die, when I go back into the earth. But actually, emptiness, nothingness, totality, which is what we are made of, is the only way that it even exists. Imagine if you only had empty space. How would you be able to experience it? Because you wouldn't have contrast. If you only had black, how would you even be able to have white? There's no such thing as death. So all of these great emotions that we have, which are basically hijacking our nervous system when we see, like, there's going to be, like, we're, like, all in pre-flop and, like, flop turn, we're good, we have 80%, and there's a river card coming, and then there's this mechanism that creates emotions based on what the next card is going to do. Notice this is not utilitarian. If you believe that this is normal, you're correct. But it does not mean that it is rational. It does not mean that it's necessary and you can absolutely destroy it. It's just that normalcy happens to be what the society is, because none of the egos that are here want to look at their own emotional experience. They want to blame it on other people. They want to, for instance, that there are Homo sapiens monkeys that believe that there's a man named Jesus Christ who's going to save them one day, which God bless Jesus. I love Jesus. But they believe that by, say, for instance, hating gay people, or they believe that somehow this is unnatural. First of all, if you think there are any other people, you're very delusional. There are no other people. So you're just talking about your own beliefs and yourself. And you're experiencing very negative things inside of yourself. Then there are people like in the community which believe that you can somehow identify as being gay or straight. You can't, you're just a human. All your identities are the cause of your misery because you can only think about things in opposition to you being gay and someone else being straight. And then these psychological entities in your mind think that everybody is judging you. But you can never feel anybody else's judgment except your own self-judgment. How could you? Think about it logically. You can see their face, you can hear vocal inflections, but you create the meaning of those. This is extremely hard to the ego. Now, I'm assuming that like most poker players, they would never listen to anything that I have to say. Most people in the world would never listen. It's not what I have to say, by the way. This is not my personal opinion. This is truth. It's not my personal opinion. This has been written down for about 5,000 years throughout our written history. In fact, it's even gone pre-society where we have many, many people that are speaking about the human condition and ways to improve our experience, which can change significantly because our experience is basically being created by our beliefs. And our experience is always created on the fly. There's nothing else other than time. If we're believing that there is this thing called yesterday, then we are simply still identified with a collection of thoughts about the past. And this is what's so painful about death. Because what we have to do is we have to give up all these great relationships that we've had. We have to give up all these good friends that we've had. This knowledge that we've collected. We have to give that up when we die. Actually, no, it's just an absolutely beautiful, fantastic situation for us to recreate ourselves. Not that we are the one that's consciously doing that. We don't have any free will, by the way. It's just an illusion. We can do some stuff. We can move our arms around, right? But this is also another illusion of the human mind to be able to protect the sense of self and give it some mechanism of security. All free will is an illusion. Now, I'm not talking about it's not a philosophical point. It's literally like right now you might say, I don't want to feel bad feelings. And then you're feeling bad feelings. But these bad feelings are not because you don't have control. It's just happening from the past. So the way to kind of alleviate these sort of psychological pains, say when we get 3-bet 4 times, then the brain will create a context for the meaning of this, how the person will react. They're going to think X, Y, Z, da-da-da-da-da. And then we actually believe that we know what they're doing. Now, of course, there's no them. Them is just a dream. Notice, we're looking at a telephone. I'm looking at a telephone. I don't see any opponents. So all the opponents are just created by my own unconscious. And all the information, I see someone with, say, 29 VPIP open to 2.5x. So there are different associations with the meaning of 29 VPIP, and then I will act like I'm so amazing, and I'm going to look at how many hands has this guy played, right? I'm going to say, oh, he's played however many hands. Say he's played like 100 hands. I'm saying, well, it's not that strong, but I'm still going to believe it a little bit that he plays like this. And then I create a new model saying he goes 2.5x. He's almost certainly going to be like this. If he's playing 2.5x and he's not going 2x, then he might be trying to exploit more of this, more of that. Maybe all sorts of ideas come up. These are all my own ideas. These have nothing to do with anybody else. Say in my life, I've spent 5,000 hours studying poker. Let's say playing, studying, thinking about it, whatever. Or say like 10,000, say 20,000, say 3,000. I started playing when I was like 11 or 12 years old. So I've spent a significant amount of time playing, but mostly just having fun because poker is super fun. So, I mean, I don't necessarily want to study so much. I'm not so good at the actual playing, but I'm good at least having fun when I'm playing it and, trying to bluff people and saying, fuck you, you're not going to bluff me again. I'm fucking going to own you. I'm going to steal your red money. That's why I played, actually. The entire reason why I started playing poker was because I wanted to essentially bluff people and own people and make people feel bad and want to show them that I was better than them, you see. And also it had a lot to do with my own kind of a childhood and wanting to prove to my family that I was not sort of like a loser, or that one day I could like get a wife, one day I could have a house. I wasn't just worth nothing. Now I don't particularly care about things this much. I mean, I would like to have a house. I like to make sure that my kid has a good life. But now, by my beliefs as far as poker is concerned, this entire operating system, our thinking always changes over time. So a 5-year-old gets some cornflakes and gets some chocolate from his mother, and he's eating it, and he's very confused as to why his mother is eating chicken, or why, not chicken nuggets, by the way. Chicken nuggets are delicious. If any children don't like chicken nuggets, they have some serious psychiatric disorders. They need to be sent to fucking McDonald's immediately. And they need to be force-fed chicken McNuggets. And French fries as well. Don't forget McDonald's French fries. Those are absolutely the most fantastic pieces of golden love you will ever taste in your entire life. It's funny, I said they taste like whatever. I didn't even know what I was going to say. I came up with golden love. And before that, there was a hallucination about how some viewer will be judging me and they will think that I'm very stupid if I don't come up with the right word. So let's come up with the right word. And then I said golden, whatever the fuck, I can't remember. But the point is that it's not like I was there with you when you're listening to this. I'm creating this right now, many, many, many hours, days, months, weeks, years before you're listening to this. And you're here because you're obviously the perceiver. I don't exist without you. And this is also not true. But bear with me. Not literally, but I'm imagining you right now, and I believe this. This is why I'm making videos. I'm making videos because I want attention, because I want love, because I don't know how to sit in my own skin and just play poker, because I've been taught that by having other people like me, this will somehow advance my own self-image. It doesn't take away from the fact that some things that I'm saying are also true, but let's look at the intention for me doing this. It's because I've been conditioned to want people to like me. I might spend... Anyways, I mean, it often as well, when we start to look at things that, let's say I'm looking at something that I don't like about myself, the tendency is saying, okay, well then don't do it. There's a solution. No. Absolutely not. There's nothing to do in physical reality that's going to do much. I mean, sure, like put food in your machine and maybe you need to like work to like get money, blah, blah, blah. I completely understand. But in terms of like, you have to do this, most of the like presuppositions as to what you're supposed to do, like barring maybe food, because that's like much more biological. That's much less like conditioned. It's not even conditioned at all. It's just, say there's like a deer that's born and then like he has this sense in his stomach. I don't know how it works. Maybe someone has some ideas. I'd love to actually hear how it works. I don't know how actually hunger works. I don't really know. They have a feeling in their stomach, and I don't really know how to differentiate that between... I often feel hungry, but I'm overweight. I'm not too overweight, but I'm a little bit overweight, and I eat still. And I don't eat because I'm hungry. I mostly eat because I have a sort of feeling arise, and I believe that the way to take away that bad feeling is to eat. So I do this a little bit more than I should. And actually, if I was like more vigilant as to the kind of food that I would eat, then maybe I would be less overweight. But also, I'm a little bit self-destructive, and I always pick like I don't quite understand this about myself, but mostly it's because I'm unwilling to admit how self-deceptive and destructive I am. By saying one moment, I don't want to be fat, and I want people to like me, and I want women to see that I'm hot so that I can have sex with them and imagine them liking me, and then by them liking me and thinking that I do a good job in bed, then somehow I'll be a good person and whatever. I mean, this has to be coming from a great amount of insecurity for me to have any of these kind of thoughts. But the beliefs that if I do something like this, then I will be better. But no, this is coming from the emotional system. And these are coming from the beliefs that I have within myself. But it's very hard to differentiate a thought that if I meet this woman, then I will be happy. Certainly there are testicles, and it's a very natural thing. My cat masturbates multiple times a day. He has sex with the pillow very often. So it's very natural. And in fact, humanity has even been shamed because of their sex, when it's the only way that we were even created. And in fact, it's one of the places where people have the most insecurities, very unfortunately. When all of our bodies are absolutely perfect, all of our bodies are absolutely beautiful, but there's this belief that somehow this person is ugly and this person is beautiful. No. Only ugliness has even the capacity to remember beauty, because you have to one thing cannot exist by itself. When you're talking about it and you're giving it labels, it has to be in comparison. So I say, wow, this woman is beautiful. So you must be simultaneously imagining if someone that is very ugly. Or you say, wow, this is a very good person. I'm a very good person. I'm a very good person because I'm playing poker and blah, 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 and I'm giving money to people, my family, and I'm being a good father. What does that mean? That must mean that I'm looking around for people that are doing a bad job as a father. I'm saying they're bad. Off their backs, I'm creating this goodness in me. But it's all imagined, and these other people that I'm talking about are just projections of me. How? How could they not be me? Well, how could they be me? How is it that my entire life revolves around thinking about what other human beings think about me? Okay, and what is their perception? This is a very, very good example, for instance, in poker. We will see someone very often say they run a big bluff, and their opponent shows a big fold that they make, like, I folded this big hand. And then the feeling is that, I want to show him that I bluffed him, because I don't know if this is for other people. This is one frame, and we can look at it for many frames and talk about this situation. And then we can say so many different angles that it comes from, because it's not like someone is doing something because of something. There's simultaneously millions of ideas that are going in their unconscious. And what their behavior is simply just a derivative of this system. It's not like I am this conscious entity that's doing whatever. I don't even know why I'm doing what I'm doing most of the time. Someone shows me that they fold top pair, top kicker in a 3-bet pot. After I 3-bet a UTG, the board comes queen, jack, 5. I'm in cutoff. I 3-bet UTG again, right? 150 big blinds. Bet, shove. He folds ace, queen. He shows. And I have a bluff. I have ace king, and I just don't think I have good blockers to the queen X. I think that he raises queen jack with like the flush draw. I think that he raises jacks, whatever the case is, right? But then my goal on one hand, I say my goal is to make poker EV. And obviously this guy is folding and he's showing. And I could ask, like, why is he doing that? Is he trying to show me? Is he trying to tell me that I'm not bluffing enough and therefore he's trying to feel better? Maybe he has the idea that I feel superior to him, or he has this idea that he wants to make me feel bad when I actually have an overpair and he folds, he will feel better. He's imagining, that's why he's making the fold, because he's imagining that I'm mostly doing that. But to reconfirm this idea, he's going to show this hand to prove. But actually, if his strategic idea was correct, and I am actually under bluffing, why would he give me that information to tell him, hey, this is what I'm doing? And does he actually think that I'm stupid enough to see this hand and not adjust? Or is he very stupid and think that I will? Or what? Does he really think that he has the capacity to figure this out? What is this absolutely insane mechanism in me after he shows ace queen and he confirms that he's overfolding, that I want to show a bluff? This has nothing to do with EV, remember. I'm claiming that I'm playing poker not because I want people to think that I'm better than them and to like me. I'm claiming that I'm playing poker because I want to be able to make a living for my children. I really enjoy playing poker and playing the game, etc. But this priority of being seen as good by other people far surpasses any sort of strategy stuff. So what do? I show them the bluff and say, fuck you. Don't pretend like you're superior to me, motherfucker. I mean, I don't actually, in reality, because I don't want this guy to know. I just will keep bluffing him, actually, so I'm lying. But you get the point as to what I want to do. This is what I want to do anyways. And I absolutely have done this. And I've done this many times in the past. And I will do this in the future as well, depending on how much. It's just this guy, I think he's quite a bit better than me. And I don't want him to know what I'm thinking. I think he's significantly better than me. He plays a lot of whatever. I don't really want to talk too much about it. But obviously I don't want to give the guy information. But someone can be so delusional and arrogant that they can just think I'm better than everybody and I'm just going to show them. But he doesn't know who I am. And I do a lot of limping. I do a lot of 4Xing, 3Xing. I'm just very sporadic. So because maybe they have, so their brain, the brain will automatically create a model where their opponent is inferior to them and think of all the reasons why I'm playing better than them. Or maybe we're inferior and then we need to avoid this. And then we'll do spasticated stuff and not just play well, blah, blah, blah. Many, many, many interesting thought processes that we can think about in poker. But this entire emotional system needs to be seen and needs to be understood, because actually there's a level of equanimity and well-being far beyond having any kind of reaction watching any poker hand whatsoever. In any life situation, even when we're dying, we can just be smiling because we understand ourselves. And when we understand ourselves, this leads to knowledge of other people. And this leading to knowledge of other people in poker, it means that we're going to understand why our opponents do stuff. If they don't understand, but we understand, who's going to win? If we don't understand what they understand, and we're deluded enough to think that we believe our own thoughts, yes, we do understand. Well, maybe we should ask ourselves, are we playing high stakes? Like, are we playing mid stakes? Are we playing low stakes? Why is this the case? What is our win rate? How have we been doing? So there's some observable things that we can do. Okay, I am playing 2NL for how long? I'm playing 200NL. I'm playing 2KNL. Okay, what are my results? How long have I been here? Another thing that I've noticed as well in my life very, very frequently is that I have chosen to play bigger games where my win rate will be less, where I'm probably even sometimes losing, etc., just because I want to play against better people, because I have this belief that if I win against better people, then it will fulfill my ego or whatever, and then I'll think my friends will know that I'm intelligent and I can feel like I'm whatever. When actually I would just have more money if I would have like studied more, played lower stakes, been more intelligent about my actual approach. As you see, I'm playing 200NL right now. These are my regular stakes. And this is because I'm not very good, right? If I was better, I would be playing higher stakes. It doesn't mean that I wouldn't get on the phone and play 200NL for a video, but certainly I should have the bankroll, I should have the ability to be playing bigger games, and that's not the case. So why is this? And I can spin a lot of words that sound really good, but that has nothing to do with reality, that has nothing to do with win rate and poker. They have nothing to do with each other whatsoever. I wish I would have set out the other big one, but that's perfectly good. I'm going to get off of the phone, but I did want to end this, not that there's a positive or negative note. In fact, there's nothing that we can do. The majority of poker videos that I watch, they always come up with this, like, this is the conflict, and this is the solution. This is how a lot of videos on YouTube are actually formatted, because there is a previous idea in the mind, this has been a problem, and then a YouTuber creates a video, this is the problem, well, here's the solution. And then we feel that this will actually make us better. No, of course not, because these are still just more ideas that are going on. This illusory solution that we find is not going to fix this emotional system, which is fighting against itself. It's not going to fix this fragmented mind, this compartmentalized mind that has created so many associations with different things, and then created this thing called psychological pain, which is very similar to physical pain. Again, right? My cat scratches me and I feel tremendous amount of pain. It's just a reminder. It's not like it has any meaning other than just trying to give me a signal. Same with the psychological pain. The psychological pain is derived from our beliefs. But what if our beliefs are false? To say, what if I believe that this apple, if I put it in the ground, it will create a big apple tree in a couple of years? Say this belief is false. And then I start imagining how, well, wow, one day I won't have to work so hard. I'll have my own trees. I won't have to think about these problems in the future, but without realizing that actually I already have food, water. None of these problems are real. They're just kind of a game that I'm playing with myself, because it's very hard to admit that all this is self-created. Not only is it hard to, it's not even hard to admit, it's not even possible to see, because how can we know that we're dreaming when we're in a dream? It's only after we wake up and we say, oh, wow, that's right. That was all just a dream. But of course, all dreams seem absolutely real when we're in them. We as poker players don't have this ability to lie to ourselves so easily. I mean, we do, and we'll see what the results of people who do that are, but it's not like politics. It doesn't benefit us. It doesn't benefit us to go around and saying other people are worse than us and stupid and we're going to beat them. It has nothing to do with EV. It's only the ego. It's only the self-image that wants to be advanced. So who gives a fuck about the self-image? We're all going to die in the ground anyways. Now, certainly I care, but why do I care? Because it's a conditioning. It's like a mouse that's put in a cage and shocked when it goes to the left side and eats food. So it always eats food on the right side. And say this mouse was reproduced 100 generations down the line. None of these mice for 90-something generations have ever even gone left. They always go right. But this shock mechanism is gone, long gone. They're back in the wild. In fact, and it's not even a shock mechanism going to the left. It's that whenever they eat food, they have this psychological fear that something can happen to them because they were shocked. And then they're always trying to food in this area, right? We're saying, oh no, mice, don't go in these holes because there are a lot of snakes. I know that this is your favorite place. So they get eaten. Actually, this is kind of how survival of the fittest work. But of course, the human mind, for instance, it might see like a lion and it might see a gazelle and it might like pick a side because the brain works in terms of like opposition. Like I'm picking this person over that person. Actually, reality, there's just two things that's happening. You don't get to pick things. It's just happening. If you want to like create your little movie cinema where you pick sides, it's fine. Like, I'm going to pick this sports team. I have a sports team. I like the sports teams. It's fun. Just like when we're going to play basketball, it's fun. But there's this illusory idea that the more meaning we put on something, the better it is. Like I'm going to think about how me winning this basketball game against my friend has all this meaning and it's interesting. No. See, it's competition, this competitiveness that we get trained with is not in the interest of our own personal well-being. And in fact, it's probably not even in the interest of our I mean, I would like to say in terms of our poker ability and our strategy, but actually that really depends on how insane we are. If we're super competitive, then it will actually probably be far superior in terms of our output in the field that we're trying to do than, say, someone that's more sane. Not necessarily. This is really, I mean, it's a really very, very complex topic, and I don't want to make so many generalizations because every single statement that I make, I can always come up with a counter. Nothing I say is ever true in any absolute way. Even that. Nothing is ever absolutely true. What does nothing is absolutely true mean? Is that not another absolute statement? It is. I love you all so much, my friends. I do. I hope you all are having a good evening, good morning, and I hope you have a good rest of your time. I would love to give you a kiss and a hug, and I will say goodbye. Mwah.